Hello, this is book summary 2 and 3 of The Power of Habit, discussing habit formation in families and habit change in families, and then habit formation and how habit changes in communities. So, first, to touch on habit formation in families, it's all leads back to the same as the habit formation in an individual, which is that habit loop. It uses that same cue, routine, and reward habit loop. It just is applied to a family or a group instead of just an individual. So it's similar to habit changes in organizations. In that generally it's the leaders, or in a family, the parents that can create that change in the habits. So one of the organizations he talked about is the Alcoa organization, and how the boss led to the change in safety, and how that one habit change, he just focused on changing the safety in that company, and how he was able to create all sorts of habit changes throughout that whole entire organization. And then also in the book they talk about the importance of keystone habits, that how important those can be if you want to make habit changes, especially if you're ultimately trying to change many habits. Finding the keystone habit and changing that can create a trickle-down effect that leads to positive changes in other habits as well. So in a family, an example would be creating a keystone habit of taking a quick walk every evening, giving family time to talk and reflect, and leading to a reward of happiness. And then this keystone habit could lead to other habit changes in their lives, such as eating healthier and all that sorts of stuff. He talks about in the book about just the main habit of making your bed every day, leading to more positive habits throughout people's lives. So keystone habits can be very important in that sense. Habit formation in communities is similar in that it starts with the same kind of idea, but of course it takes a lot more work because it's a much larger group of individuals. So the main habit change in community that the book talks about that I really enjoyed reading was about Rosa Parks and the bus boycott. And this was such a good example of a habit change, as it was a huge community that was affected, ultimately the entire country, and created such an important change in the entire country. What I found most interesting about that was that Rosa Parks was not the first person that refused to give her seat up. She just happened to be the one that created this massive change, which occurred because of her group of acquaintances and friends that helped to tie the community together. The weak ties that she had were actually more important than the strong ties that you have with your close friends, but it's the weak ties that you have with the acquaintances that affect many, many different groups of people within the community. So she had weak ties to all sorts of people within her community. So those individual groups in the community all banded together and supported her and supported this massive change. So I thought that was a really interesting thing that I never had even thought of. I really enjoyed reading the entire book. I like the way he interspersed information about the habits and then the stories. I think that one of my favorite parts of the book was actually kind of towards the end, about Angie who gambled and eventually ended up gambling everything away. Even though it's a horribly sad story, it was also very interesting how to read about how her habit started and how it evolved and changed as it went along, to the point that she could no longer even control her habit. And I also thought the most interesting part about that was when they talked about the difference in gamblers' brains and non-gamblers' brains, when it came to like the slot machine and the numbers almost lining up and not quite, and the difference between how they viewed that. I personally am not much of a gambler. I've played the slot machines, I think, like once in my life. One time I went to Vegas, and when I was reading that, I could feel that feeling of like, if the numbers don't quite line up, that felt like a loss to me just reading about it. And then as I kept going through the book, seeing that other people view that as a win, like they have that internal feeling of that being a win as opposed to a loss, was just very interesting, the way that we form these habits unknowingly in our lives. So it was a very interesting book. I'm glad that it was assigned, and I think I'll probably read it again. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.